All right, what we're on, holding by Pirke Avos, ethics for fathers. Again, what we're on, holding by Pirke Avos, ethics for fathers. We are holding in chapter 2, Mishna 15, this is part 16, and there'll be a part 17, part 18, part 19 as well. Again, we're holding by Pirke Avos, ethics for fathers, chapter 2, Mishna 15, and this is part 16. So we're talking about part of the Mishnah where, again, it says that they each said three things. Rabbi Eliezer said, Rabbi Eliezer says over here what? Rabbi Eliezer says that let your fellow's honor be as dear to you as your own, right? That we spoke about for a number of weeks. And do not anger easily. Right? So we mentioned last week that, unhealthy, extremely unhealthy, and psychologists will tell you, everyone will tell you, you don't keep anger inside. Keep anger inside, definitely not good. Right? Person's consumed by it, person can't control it. Right? Even something requires anger. Right? Seemingly even something that's, may require anger. You gotta be careful. Right? That we may see later. Right? That for sure, you have to be careful. And we mentioned, just like snake is poison in its teeth, right? According to some opinions, not that the venom comes out after the snake bites, whatever it may be. Yeah, we see the venom, whatever it is, comes out automatically. Snake doesn't have to do anything, right? Similar thing. Snake has the poison inside. It comes out. Now, the comparison is, we mentioned, a person gets angry, right? A person gets angry, what happens? So a lot of times, a person will react. They'll absolutely react, and whatever comes out of their mouth comes out of their mouth. Why? Because they're angry. Now, I said before, that's called a knee-jerk reaction. And a knee-jerk reaction, we got to be careful no matter what happens. No matter what happens. Now, let's say even you have to get angry. Even if a person would have to get angry, you got to be careful to control it, right? Even if it's okay to get angry, right? In certain cases, right? Again, which we may see, as we go on. The point is that a person, just like the snake when he bites, venom comes out, let's say, automatically. All right, we'll make it easy. Comes out automatically. A person, and again, this is not so easy to do. But what does the person do? What a person does is they themselves react. Right? Now, who says you should react straight away? Reacting straight away is never good. Because most likely your first reaction or even second reaction, you're going to explode. Right? So obviously, if you're in that type of situation, you got to calm yourself down. Right? Count to 10, count to 20, count to 50. Count to 100 before you're calm. Because a person cannot deal with whatever situation they're in, they're not calm. Right? In other words, anger totally overcomes them. Right? And that's never a good thing. So now anger, like any other character trait, or let's say bad character trait, anger is something that tests us. Right? We have a lot of tests in life. We have a lot of character traits we have to work on. Anger, gaiva, being conceited, being stingy, not wanting to help others. I mean, a lot of character traits, that we have to work on. So not only that, we have a lot of tests in life. Tremendous amount of tests in life. And some tests are easier, some tests are harder. Well, what's the bottom line? They're there to test us. See if we're going to overcome the test. See if we're going to be successful. See if we're not. Right? So these tests make us who we are. We've spoken about this many times. The fact that tests form who we are. Right? As the Ramchal said in Derech Hashem, says the path of the just, we're in this world to what? To toil. We're in this world to struggle. Again, we can struggle in many ways. Many, many different ways. We could struggle with health. We could struggle with livelihood. We can struggle with family. We can struggle with all these things put together. Right? God wants to squeeze us like the bottom of the toothpaste. He can do that. Right? To see how we're going to react, what we're going to do, build our character, so to speak. So they're all tests. Everything we go through is tests, right? In general. Now, the Gemara Eruvin says there are three things. Three things we're tested by. But remember, what do we say before? Even before we get there. What do we say before? Don't be like a fool who has anger lingering in their bosom. They have anger inside. If they have anger inside, they're a fool. You got to get it out. You got to deal with it. Right? Even things that would, even something requires anger, okay. Right? We'll have to deal with it. Even something not requiring anger and you get angry, that's bad. Person loses control. So to speak. So what does that mean? So now you look at anger. Anger, what happens? We said before. Anger comes out automatically. In the bosom of fools, that's what it means. That person doesn't think, person doesn't analyze, person reacts. God does not want you to react straight away. It's not what he wants. It's not what he wants. He wants you to always be in control. You're going to say, how is that possible? Right? We mentioned, you go into Shabbos. Jew goes into Shabbos. Right? Or a JIT, a Jew in training. Whoever's keeping Shabbos. Yeah? 2 seconds before you lit, you're running around doing this, doing that. All kinds of things going on. And all of a sudden, you light the candles. Or when you pray, you take in Shabbos for all men. Right? Unless they're lighting candles, whatever. But even then, they don't take on Shabbos in general. But the point is that once Shabbos comes in, all my thoughts of everything up until that point are gone. I'm not thinking about the war. I'm not thinking about livelihood. I'm not thinking about health. I'm not thinking about any of these things. Right? In other words, once Shabbos comes in, once the festival comes in, that's a whole different thing. That is a whole different thing. You're going to say, but I just lit the candles. Very good. You just lit the candles. What changed? How did things change? How did your mentality change? And the answer is it has to change. Because you can't bring these things into Shabbos. Right? You can't bring in negative thoughts to Shabbos. You can't bring in sadness to Shabbos. Now you're going to say it's very hard. This happened, that happened, the other. Even if someone, God forbid, died. Let's say a loved one died on Shabbos. The halacha is you still can't be sad. I'm not saying you're jumping around, for joy. Oh, thank God they're dead. You're not doing that, obviously. Right? But you don't have to be sad. It's forbidden to be sad on Shabbos. That's why, that's why we don't read books that make us sad. Can't read a Holocaust book on Shabbos. Can't read things that are going to depress us. A lot of, it's one of the reasons we don't read news on Shabbos. Even if it's already printed before, we have it in front of us. I'm not talking about going on the internet getting information. You get a newspaper, whatever it is, right? Even a religious newspaper, right? Sounds like an oxymoron, right? Whatever, they're reporting the news. Okay, so you got one of these Jewish magazines, very good. Yeah, some will say not so good, whatever. But let's say they got news there. Shouldn't be reading the news on Shabbos. right? You want to read it after Shabbos, read it before Shabbos. Yeah, but don't read it on Shabbos. Why? These things are depressing. I don't know anyone who gets such strength reading the news. On a daily basis. You see all this garbage out there. All these terrible things go on. Yeah, again, even if there's no Lashon Hara, will make it easy. Even if there's no Lashon Hara and all that, even if they're just reporting what happens. Does that make anyone feel better? Okay, you're a little more, quote unquote, well informed. You're up to date. You know what's going on. Yeah, does that make me a better person? Does that make me get up and sing and dance? Wow, I'm so glad, see how God runs the world. It's beautiful. It's craziness going on in the world. And now it's more crazy what's going on. Okay. But even before October 7th, there wasn't a crazy world. Crazy world. Totally crazy world. There are massacres there. There are all kinds of things going on, right? That are negative, that are never good. So what's the point of reading about it? I want to be informed on it. Be more well-rounded. Yeah, have your mind open till your brains fall on the floor. Beautiful. But, we always have to ask the question. We say this a million times. You got to ask the question, whatever I'm doing right now, does it make me a better Jew? Does it make me a better JIT, a Jew in training? Does it make me a better non-Jew who's not going to convert? That's the question. That is the question. And most people, I think, would agree. If you follow the news at whatever level, some people more, some people less, whatever it may be, you happy now, you open up a Pandora's box, so to speak. Most of it's negative. It's rare, to put up a, make you feel good story. Sometimes it happens. Yeah, most of the time this stuff is depressing. Again, even if it's a religious magazine, very good. They're just reporting the information. Not necessarily putting their spin on it, they're reporting it. No Lashon Hara, right? Let's say. I mean, how have I? Right? There shouldn't be any Lashon Hara. But the point is that's not going to enhance my Shabbos. Right? I guarantee. It's not going to make you happy on Shabbos. It's not going to do that. Now, could there be things, someone asked about, Musaf and whatever, that can make you sad? Yeah, we don't have a temple, we can't bring sacrifices. Can a person be moved to tears on Shabbos? Yeah. That means the person has an extra sensitive soul. Very good. Or let's say Friday night, you're in a place like, where I pray Friday night, they sing, they sing a lot. The main thing they sing is L'chadodi. Like a lot of people, a lot of places sing, some do, some don't. But sometimes the tune is just like, you got 200 people there, 300 people there, the place is rocking. Yeah, but it can be overwhelming emotionally also. Because you feel like now you're in another planet. You feel like, this is so great. I want to work on this and I want to work on that. And I want to be better. I want to be, so close to God. You feel like your soul is coming out of your body. Right? More of my Hasidic side here coming out. Right? So you're feeling it, but it's emotional. It is emotional. So that emotion's okay. If a person would dwell on the fact, let's say by a festival, on a festival by Musa, by the additional service on a festival, whether it comes out on Shabbos or not, doesn't matter. On that festival, what do we read at Musa? The fact we can't bring sacrifice. We cannot bring sacrifices to the temple. What do we say in those prayers? Because of our sins. Well, isn't that pretty depressing? Couldn't someone at that point, if they get filled with emotion, like break down and, want to work on themselves? Is that true? That is very true. That kind of emotion's okay as long as it doesn't drag you down. If it drags you down and it ruins your whole Shabbos because, temple's destroyed, we can't do this, we can't do that. Life is so depressing, we want to serve God better, but look what's going on. Yeah, that you can't do. That you can't do. Can a person be, prayer can be so dry sometimes. People don't feel any emotion, which is bad. Well, that's again, if a person's overcome with emotion, that's not a bad thing. If it's going to totally ruin your Shabbos, different issue. Can't let it ruin your Shabbos. You got to say, oh, it's so depressing, right? Well, what's going on? Tremendously depressing. Okay, true, right? No one's going to deny that, right? No one's going to deny that. Very depressing. Okay. So if it's depressing, should I be depressed the whole day? Should I not want to get out of bed now? Should I not want to eat my meal? How far does it go? Right? That's the question. If it goes too far, then a person's depressed. That you can't do. Right? That would be forbidden. But in general, I would say, what do we say over here? We mentioned, right? We mentioned that anger over here comes out automatically. When that happens, who does it happen to? Does it happen to the righteous? No. Does it happen to people holding somewhere in the world? Trying to be in control? No. Who does it happen to? It happens to fools. It happens to fools where anger comes out automatically. Now, a person's going to say, isn't that a lot of people? Even in the religious world? Even throughout the Orthodox Jews? Aren't there people out there? There probably are. I'm not going to say what percentage, but there probably are people out there that react. When something happens, they react. God doesn't want you straight to react. He wants you to be in control even when you think it's impossible to be in control. He still wants you to be, in control. So we're saying over here, we said before, don't be like the fool's anger lingering. They're consumed by it. They can't control it. These same fools allow the anger to come out straight away. Can't let it come out straight away. Better, I don't know, go in a corner, do something where, you have an opportunity to think what I should do. What's my obligation? That shows control. God wants you to be in control. He doesn't want you to lose control. Somebody, what do we say? Somebody who's angry, you don't speak to them. You don't try and reason with them. Because as the Gemara says, if they're hovering over the pit of hell, and they hear people, people screaming, they hear voices, people suffering, whatever it is, they're never going to change. It's not going to make them repent. Why not? Why is it not going to make them repent? Because they're angry. When a person's angry, we mentioned this before, right? A number of times, when a person's angry, they lose themselves. Losing themselves over here means what? It means you can't reason with them. There's no possible way to reason with them. You can't argue with them. You have to wait till they calm down. Right? That's what you got to do. Again, it depends what level of anger. I had someone left me a voicemail, I don't know, a number of weeks ago. I still haven't answered it. Right? Why didn't I answer it? Well, there's really nothing to do. I was going to get hammered if I do answer it. Right? Person left me whatever. It wasn't a long message, but it was a message. Kind of nasty message. In the sense of, what's going on here, and it's all our fault, and it's all the right wing's fault, and it never would have happened. It's the left wing government, and you got too many right wing people in the government. I hate the right, blah blah blah, like all this hatred, animosity. Yeah, I could have diffused the situation if I'm on the phone in a certain way. But next time I speak to that person, I'm sure that's going to come up. Right? If I speak to them, right? Let's say that'll come up. What do you do? What would I do in that situation? I'm going to let them vent. If I see an area to say something, I'll say something. I'll say, that's not true, right? One thing I told this person, claiming, the right wing's in power, and this and that, it caused this, it caused that. I was like, you think there are no terrorist attacks when the left wing's in power? You think the left wing's a bunch of choir boys? Nothing ever happens under their nose. No one ever dies. No one ever dies when they're in power. I mean, that's kind of insane. No, they would say, right? I've had this before, just like, when, right over their head. I said, that's insane to say. Because it's basically saying, we're the one causing everything. When the left wing's in power, nothing bad ever happens. Well, let's go back in history. How many times they left in power, there were wars? Wars never happens. We're living in utopia. Everything's beautiful. Everyone's, playing guitars and singing Kumbaya. What are you, off your rocker? That's an insane thing to say. Right? So now that person's going to come back and still say the same thing, right? Yell and scream and say, it's all your fault. And true people cause these problems. I said, really? So my answer's going to be exactly what I said. And when the left wing's in power, nothing ever happens, right? I did this once. I answered in the middle. Probably shouldn't have, but whatever. I answered in the middle because they were just saying ludicrous things. Ludicrous things. Now, someone like that, they're spewing off at the mouth. Usually what you do is you just let them speak. No point to argue. No point to argue. Right? I was in a situation. I got hammered. Totally hammered. I waited until they were finished. There's no point to interrupt. Everyone else around was just sitting there watching this. Right? I didn't need any help defending myself. I'm pretty good at that. Right? So I said, okay, maybe you have a source for what you're saying. Maybe Tom would say something. This person's like, on the ball a little bit, more than most people. I do have respect for that. They're not totally, most people I think are brain dead, but this person's certainly not brain dead. Very good. I mean, they have their biases, they have anger against Orthodox Jews. I'm not exactly sure why, whatever it is. So I said, okay. They agreed that the subject was about intermarriage. And they agreed intermarriage is wrong. Okay. But I would never tell my grandson this, that. Yeah, because you don't want to lose him. Obviously, you're going to say something, you're going to lose him. Saying intermarriage is bad. It's my granddaughter or whatever, very nice girl. I'm not arguing that. That's not the point. Intermarriage is forbidden, ruining the Jewish people. So I said, maybe you have a source where intermarriage is okay. Maybe you have a source. Well, I'm not saying you hammer them. I'm not saying you throw them down, you throw them out and this and that. But you can't say it's okay. You can't go to the wedding. There are things you can't do, period. Forbidden. 100% forbidden. Yeah. But that's what my heart tells me. That's my heart. So what? So as they're going on and on, I said, okay, you have a source? I'm willing to listen to a source. Maybe it's a source I don't know about. Will you catch me on things? Yeah, I'm not going to say in the world's, greatest scholar and everything, by any stretch. Okay, maybe you got a source. I haven't heard. Where do you see the Torah says in any way, shape, or form, or any source that says it's okay? Maybe you want to tell me, maybe it only meant that generation. Maybe it only meant generation going into the land. Maybe, you give me Webster's 7th definition. I usually say 8th definition. Okay. They said, no, I agree with you. Intermarriage is bad. Intermarriage is wrong. Very good. Stop them dead in their tracks. Good. They agree. Okay. Yeah. But you went to the wedding. You have contact. You're saying it's okay. You're condoning it. They're like, I would never break up family. Right? That's what my heart tells me. That's what my heart tells me. Is it forbidden? Let's go back to the original question. Is it forbidden? Yes. They agree it's forbidden. But they're not willing to go a step further. Okay. Now, would I say it's a waste of time to have this argument? Yes. But, so, if a person's going on and on, this is what the question is. that somebody here has, right? The question is, how do you deal with someone else's anger? If you can't avoid the person, very good. Yeah, what if you can't avoid them? Right? What if you can't avoid them? Right? There are times you can't avoid people. Okay, so what do you do? The best thing is, if they're saying things are being obnoxious, or the saying, let's say better, they're angry, right? Let's say these 5 people, they're angry, right? 100%, right? They're angry. So the question is, how do you deal with someone in anger? You don't speak until they're done, until their anger is gone, usually. Because if you speak when they're angry, what's going to come out of it? They're not going to hear you because they're angry. You got to let the anger go down. They're not rational. As we said before, the Gemara says, if the pit of hell would be over them right now, they'd still be angry. They would still be angry. What does that tell you? That means that when a person's angry, they can't hear anything. Now, you might tell me, maybe we'll get to this, I don't know, but you might tell me it depends on the level of anger. Some people can still be rational when they're angry. That's not normally what the sources say. Our sources tell us not that way. Our sources say when a person's angry, you don't even speak to them. When they're angry, they can't hear anything. Now, again, it depends what level of anger. Like I had someone tell me, same person say, this person's gay, he was born that way. And I got one line in. It's probably not even worth it to answer. I'm just going to tell you the story that happened. I got one line in at that point. I said, science has proven that. I said, first of all, science has not proven that. I got a lot of bad genes. Anger genes, miserly genes, other things. We all have bad genes. So even if you have a bad gene, you got to work on it. You got a certain disposition. Okay, they don't like this argument. And they're born that way. So the same thing again. Person's born that way. I said, science hasn't proven it, right? I got that line in. And the second line I got in, I said, there are psychologists out there who can help such people. There are psychologists that have the ability to help such people. Proven. This is proven. Silence. They heard what I said. They went on to something else after that. Right? That doesn't matter. Person's born that way, they're born that way. So they did hear it. They did hear it. So again, you can't necessarily, this is the hard part, you can't necessarily determine how upset they are. Sometimes you can, sometimes obvious. Right? They're throwing things around, they're rip-roaring mad, they're ready to get violent, this and that. People like that, you can't reason with. It depends on the level. It's ironic to see people angry, especially these stupid protests going on, against Israel. And sometimes you see people actually speak to people and they actually show them, listen, it's not true what you're saying. Some of them don't care, right? Probably a lot of them don't care, but some of them might. I'm not saying you should confront them. It's also probably a waste of time. So in most cases, I would say somebody's angry, leave it. Come back to them when they're rational, right? Someone asks, okay, if that's true, right? If that's true, what's the ideal reaction? The ideal reaction is you don't answer. No point. If you see there's a level, they're not that far gone, and they can actually hear what you have to say, so then you can reason with them. Maybe. There's a possibility to reason with them. But if you see you open your mouth and they just slam it shut, and they start yelling and screaming, there's no point. They're too far gone. You have to wait till they calm down. So really, I would say the best reaction is don't test the waters. The best reaction is saying nothing. That's the best reaction. Because they're not going to hear it. They're definitely not going to hear it. And it's a total waste of time. Total waste of time. What you're doing basically is just you're adding more fuel to the fire. That's what you're doing. You're adding more fuel. You didn't want to do that. That certainly was never your intention. Okay. But even if that wasn't your intention, that's what you did. Because the person couldn't hear it. If you're going back and forth, you say something, the person's somewhat rational, you can have a conversation, okay? But a lot of times, when a person gets angry, you can't rationalize with them. You can't reason with them. There's nobody home. That's the problem. There's nobody home. So if there's nobody home, what do? So I'll tell you, you want to speak to someone who's like a brick, okay? They're not going to hear it. They're not going to hear it. Right? And if someone's going to say all these things, they're going to say, this is what my heart tells me. You can't argue with that. What are you going to argue with? They agreed on one point, very good. So they're not that angry. They at least heard that. At least they agree that the marriage is bad. Okay. Very good. But if they can't hear anything else, then they go, that's what my heart tells me, this and that. You can't argue with that. No arguing. There's nobody home to talk to. Now, you might not even get that far. If a person did something wrong, gets someone really angry with, you can apologize. You can say you're sorry. You can this, you can that. Right? You can do all kinds of things. Okay. Yeah. Let's say they don't accept what you did. They don't accept your apology. Every time you open your mouth, they slam it shut. Okay. Because the anger is still there. I know somebody like that still got plenty of anger. Something happened, 20 years ago, more. I understand where the anger comes from. Still has anger. Still has a lot of anger. Totally unhealthy. Now, you think someone's going to come to them and answer them up, and they're going to say, oh, that's the reason. Right? Imagine Elie Wiesel. You're going to tell him, he was a survivor of the Holocaust. Read all these books about the Holocaust. So imagine you came up to him, when he was alive and said, I got a reason for the Holocaust, this, that. It's like, oh, yeah, that's the answer. Great. Great. I'm so glad I have an answer. No more books. I don't have to write any more books. Right? People like that, are they interested in an answer? They could be cool, calm, and collected. They could be angry also. In either case, right? Even if they're not angry, right? We'll make it easy. Somebody like that, you want to rationalize with? You want to reason with? Nobody home. They have an agenda, like we always say. Right? So somebody like that, you're not going to rationalize. You're not going to reason with. If they can't hear the answer and all they're going to do is, say worse things and get more angry, no point. Right? The best scenario is, someone's angry, let them be angry, move on until they calm down. Once they calm down, maybe they can hear. Maybe. But if I'll give an example. Right? If someone's angry and they're still angry years later, many years later. Yeah. Are you going to come along and I'll fix the situation? No. Because if that situation comes up, they're still angry. Doesn't matter. You're just bringing all this back. Right? There's all these things. All these things. Does it help? You going to fix it? No. There's no way to fix it. I always say, you can't fix stupid unless someone wants to hear. If someone wants to hear the truth, they'll hear it. If they don't hear the truth, right? The whole world has been brainwashed. Whole world today. I mean, I could have said this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. World is brainwashed. Media brainwashed people. Right? Israel held to a different standard. Nobody knows Jewish history. No one knows Israeli history. Right? It's kind of annoying. I had someone tell me, and I told this story before, that the reason, problems are going on in Israel, this is 30 years ago, 25 years ago, whatever it was, is because Jews are here. So I said, what are you talking about? I said, the English can be in England, yeah. The Albanians, Albania, yeah. Jews in Israel, no. Okay, it's kind of a problem. Let's go back. The English in England, yeah. Italians in Italy won't use Albania, yeah. Italians in Italy, yeah. Australians in Australia, yeah. Jews in Israel, no. I said, okay, let me ask. This is a Jew, a secular Jew. Now you'll see they don't know anything about Judaism. Well, so I asked point blank. I said, where should they go? Where should they go? We're not talking about from Palestinian to the Palestine to the sea. That means the Jews aren't here. Someone said you should go back to Yemen, idiot. Yeah, go back to the other place. There are no Jews. The genocide talk about where Jews are not in any of these places. But basically, that means there shouldn't be any Jews here, right? Where should they go? Either you export them, you get them, you deport them somewhere, or they die. You kill them. That's what it means. I don't care Webster's fifth definition. That's what it means. That's exactly what it means. Now, what does this person come back and say? The person came back and said, the reason there's a problem with the Jews, I said, where should they go? He said they should have stayed in Europe. I can't make this stuff up. True story. They should have stayed in Europe. So I looked this person in the face. I said, are you serious? I said, you want to back that statement up? I said, because I'm going to rip it to shreds right now. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, you know anything about, I said, obviously you don't really know that much about recent history. I said, what do you mean? I said, did you ever hear of the Holocaust? 6 million Jews died all over Europe. Right? The Germans killing them, you had the Slovakians killing them, you had the Russians, the Ukrainians, the Poles, the Hungarians, everybody all over Europe killing Jews. 6 million. I said, it's not about history. I'm going to sit there and argue in history. I'm such an idiot. Come on. I was like, oh yeah, it's a good point. Good point. At least they heard it. These idiots all over the world, thing is like we came and just threw out all the Arabs. And we just massacred all the Arabs. I don't know anything about history. Nothing. And all the other genocide in the world that's gone on, nobody says boo. Assad uses chemical weapons on his own people. Anyone say anything? No. America goes into Iraq, men, women, children, slaughter people left and right. Anyone say anything? I don't think anyone said anything. There weren't any protests. Not any protests like it's going on now. The huge double standard. Huge double standard. Right? One of the things I can't stand is total ignorance. This is total ignorance. But you know what? There's hatred. There's a lot of hatred. People see there's a lot of hatred, even if it doesn't make sense. Even if it's not rational. You look at a map of all these Muslim countries. How many Jews are in these countries? How many Jews are in these countries? 0. That's not a, that's ethnic. That's ethnic cleansing. That's getting them out. And what we're doing is ethnic cleansing. I mean, the same lies are being perpetuated. Listen, people trying to get out the truth. People don't want to hear it. They just don't want to hear it. Right? Israel's showing beyond the shadow of a doubt they're using this hospital as human shield. Yeah, and all these tunnels and different things. Does the world care? I mean, they're trying to show how humane they are. Trying to show. And everyone keeps saying the same thing, and America keeps saying the same thing. They got to be careful not to kill civilians. What about everyone else? This is war. They're trying not to. What are you going to do? They're using human shields. Everybody sees it. It's all over the news. They're proving this beyond the shadow of a doubt. Problem is, nobody cares. Nobody seems to care. We're held to a higher standard, a much higher standard than anyone else would ever be in 10 lifetimes. In 10 lifetimes. And then to mention, they're giving, they're allowing so many hostages to go out, Someone makes a comparison to how many, how many quote unquote Palestinians, whose lives are worth more. I mean, it's insane. It's so you can't even make this stuff up. You can't even make this stuff up. Someone making a comparison of they're allowing women and children, and look, by comparison, Israel's allowing minors to go free. You want to compare 7-year-olds, 2-year-olds, to 14, 15, 16-year-olds who were stabbing people? I mean, you have half a brain. That's not comparable. That's totally not comparable. Yeah. You got someone making such a comparison, right? It's one of two things, right? They're totally, uninformed of what's really going on, or they're idiots, and probably both. How do you make such a comparison? A 2-year-old compared to a 14, 15, 16-year-old. Okay, they're minors, true. They're both minors, okay. These 14, 15, 16-year-olds have blood on their hands. They didn't kill people. They tried. Or they were moving equipment or different things. Doesn't matter. You want to compare the two? You want to compare the two? I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. Right? So something to point out. You're right. A lot of lies, a lot of propaganda. Even with all the good stuff that's coming out, that's showing who they are, doesn't help. It's not changing people's minds. You got people that's even more incredulous. When, that, and this gets to anger. That's, we're not going to go so far off topic here. We'll see where it goes. Right? Saying that this thing on October 7th was made up. We made it up. Yeah, like it never happened. Oh, they didn't slaughter people. I didn't see the evidence. I didn't see any evidence. I didn't see any evidence of rape and babies being beheaded and all this. Oh, we didn't see any evidence of that. Oh, did you open your eyes? What are you looking at? You're watching you're watching like Bambi? You're watching like a cartoon? Like, what are you kidding? Like, so you're right. There's a lot of propaganda, there's a lot of lies. These are what the Arabs do. That's their nature. You can say it's racist, you can say whatever you want. The Torah says that's their nature. They lie. They lie and they steal. That's what they do. They do a great job. They don't need me to agree. They do a heck of a job. Heck of a job. Yeah. Now you see, last week or the week before, there was, you had this peaceful protest, right, in Washington, more than 300,000 people. You see any fights? You see any scuffles? Nothing. Any of these other protests are always fights. Always fights. Throwing things, whatever. Whatever it may be. Right? What does that have to do with anger? First of all, there's a bias out there. Everybody sees that the whole world hates Jews. That's clear. Huge bias. Huge bias. Now, everything comes to the forefront because Israel retaliates, which everyone agrees. We have a right to retaliate. Everybody agrees. But we got to be more careful. We got to be careful with civilians. Okay, they're doing their best. This is war. No one else gets treated the same way as we do. Okay. But getting back to the topic here, this is not rational. People are not rational at all. Right? What does that go to show? Beyond the shadow of a doubt, anti-Semitism is not rational. Being anti-Israel is not rational. Because if you see what Israel has done over the years, they bent over backwards for these people. Trying to help them, employ them, different things. What do we get? Stabbed in the back. That's what we get. Trying to help them. But see, they're being bred, they're being taught and bred to hate. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how much we help them. It's all about hate. Right? That's what it is. It's all about hate. Now, what comes along with hate? Anger. Anger. Now, it could be jealousy also. Could be a lot of things fueling this. But this is an overreaction multiplied by infinity. Yeah, multiplied by infinity. It's so important, and you see what the world thinks. The entire world. Go everywhere. Go everywhere. Mass protests. Mass protests. We're committing genocide. They make up things. It's like a Hamas spokesman said, Israel killed 5,000 people. Yeah, you can't listen to these people. You can't take what they say seriously. These are liars. They're total liars. Propaganda sells, but again, what's behind it? What's behind anti-Semitism is not rational. But what comes with it is violence. Right? 9.9 times out of 10, you see any of these protesters, violence. There's some level of violence. So you say, why the violence? So where's the violence stem from? So you got people got nothing better to do. Nothing better to do in their lives. So yeah, it's very in vogue to be anti-Israel, to be anti-Jewish, right? Very in vogue today. So people take it in the streets. That's what they're doing. But anytime, you watch any of these videos, I'm not saying a person should. You watch any of these videos of people tearing down, these pictures of hostages. And then someone filming it. I guarantee every third word that person's going to say, the one filming it, is a 4-letter word. Yeah, I don't care. I don't give a this, that, or whatever. They're angry. They're mad. Mad at hostages? 2-year-old kids taken captive? By these barbarians? What are they angry about? So there's an inner anger over here. Anti-Semitism doesn't have to be rational. But what it does is, it gets to a person's insides and it makes them unbelievably mad. Now, these people, let me ask you, this anger, this hatred, so strong, right? So strong right now, no question. Sometimes better, sometimes worse, whatever it is, so strong right now. You think there's any rational, there's any reasoning with these people? Maybe some, maybe. There are people blowing these people out of the water, just giving them information like they don't know anything, which they don't. Which they absolutely don't. So I would say in normal circumstances, arguing with these people, waste of time. Total waste of time. Right? They've been brainwashed. The only thing you can do is come in contact with people, try and educate them. Try and get them the right information. That's all you can do. If they're barking away, it's just so easy to deflate them. But the question is anybody home? Like, look how many Palestinians they displaced and this and that. Okay, let's see. These tens of thousands, of Gazans been displaced. Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Is that our fault? It's not our fault. Yeah, we're trying to defend ourselves. We're going in there. We're telling them, you got to get out. Because Hamas is hiding all over the place. So you got to be safe. Go to the south. Very good. That's genocide. People see what they want to see. They hear what they want to hear. These things, people have an agenda. We've always said if people have an agenda, you cannot answer them. They're not interested in an answer. Right? Very rabbi goes speak to a bunch of feminists. So he tells them, is there any difference between men and women? So these big time feminists say, no. They go, okay, let me ask the question again. Any differences you can think of between men and women? Says, I got one. Women can have children, men can't. That's a difference. No, that'll change. It's not our fault. What? That's a difference. People have an agenda. The question is, can you get through to their brains? Get them to think. Some people you may have success with. A lot of people you won't. Right? And if you're not going to have success, would I say it's worthwhile to get in, to discuss it? No. A waste of time. Same thing. Over here, but what behind the anti-Semitism, in fact, they hate Jews. What comes along with hatred, even if it's not rational? Listen, in Poland itself today, very few Jews there. But anti-Semitism is alive and well, even well before this, before October 7th. How can you have anti-Semitism in a place there are no Jews? You're going to say, look, they killed a good part of the population, right? So yeah, that is true. During the war, 100% that's true. Now, if you don't have so many Jews left, how can you have anti-Semitism? It's still there. It's in the air. It's in the air. Anti-Semitism is in the air. Now it's just made worse because of this war. But I don't think anyone expects such a reaction, this strong reaction all over. People like this get rationalized with. A lot of them are just punks. They're thugs. Generally, the university professors. That's what they are. That's what they are. Stirring things up. Stirring things up. Very good. Right? You want to argue with some of these people? Nobody there. But what's behind, again, what's one of the things behind this whole thing is anger. So you can say, but this anger is never going to subside because they're not looking for the truth. You're right. 100%, you're right. So what would I say? You don't rationalize. There's no rationalization. You cannot rationalize someone who's not there. Because no matter what you say, there's nobody home. You can show them the facts, black and white. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Right? But, I would say in all these cases, with all the lies, all the propaganda, all these things, you're not going to answer. The only thing you can do is if you think someone is rational enough, the only thing you can do is try and show them what's true. They want to hear it, they'll hear it. They don't want to hear it, they won't. But, I've had this myself. Someone will make a statement. I'll say, but it's not true. I said, it's not true. Well, some people don't care. Not that hostile. They just like, oh, whatever. Like, pass the salt. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. Okay. Right? What's the bottom line? If they're not going to hear, no point. And it's with any argument. Most people talk like this. They talk at each other. They don't talk to each other. Not listening. Neither side's listening. Neither side's listening. So that's the same thing, whether it's politics, whether it's other things. People aren't listening. What's the point of having discussion? There's very little point. Now, sometimes you don't have a choice. If you don't have a choice, you try and make some points. You try and get something in. If they're still not listening, you say, okay, you change the subject. Or you walk out or whatever. It's like, I'm not done yet. Like, no points. There's no point. I spoke to someone the other day, very briefly. Someone's a messianic. So I said, they want to understand, more about Judaism because, JC was a Jew. Very good. I said, wasn't such a good Jew, was he? I said, I threw the book at this person. I said, it's false prophets. False prophets deserve to die. They manipulate the text, and this, and that. I go, there's a lot of proof against it. A lot of proof against it. And he said, doesn't matter. I'm holding on to JC. Right? I said, listen, if you don't want to see evidence, there's evidence out there. You don't want to see evidence? Okay. Yeah, that was it. I could have sat there and rammed verses down this person's throat. I could have. No point. There's nobody home. So if there's nobody home, what are you going to argue about? The one about anger is just, again, if the person's willing to listen, good. You can have an argument. You can have a debate. Good. If they're not willing to listen, they're hard-headed, they're brainwashed, there's not much you can do. You can try and show them information. Are they going to listen? Probably not. Probably not. Because they have an agenda, right? But, again, at the end of the day, what can you do? What can you do? So one person is not only angry, but aggressive. Now, aggressive is a different issue. Right? A person's afraid for their life. Right? That's a different issue. So, you have a person has an absolute right to protect themselves. Anger, right? I didn't even get to this, but now they bring it up, we'll mention it. What can anger do? It can make someone violent. Like I said, you see all these other protests, there's violence, significant amount of violence, right? So somebody like that, just stay away from them. That you have an obligation to stay away from them. Now, does it mean that when someone gets angry, they're going to get violent? No, it doesn't mean that. Does not mean that. It depends. It depends how far gone they are at this point. If you see, like, they're aggressive, yeah, then you got to get out of there, because then there's violence. Anger does not necessarily have to lead to violence. It could, maybe a lot of times it might, but it doesn't have to. So you have to see how far that goes, right? There's if it's going to be violent, confrontation is going to be violent, then yeah, there's no point to confront. There's a mitzvah to get out. You're not allowed to put yourself in danger. This is putting yourself in danger, right? You're not allowed to put yourself in danger. If it's doubt whether it's in danger or not. Not every angry person is going to get violent. Some might. Certainly some might. That's true. But I don't know what the stats are. So you can take what I say with a grain of salt. And it depends what level of anger. I think if it's not such a high level of anger, they're not going to get violence, right? Maybe some people will. It depends. It definitely depends. It definitely depends what it is. If let's say they're on drugs. If they're on drugs, that's a whole different issue, right? If they're on drugs, they can certainly get violent, no question, right? So any of these type of things, you have to see what the situation, what the situation is. So they released 150 prisoners. Yeah, I mean, now the second batch is supposed to, I don't know, got delayed. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. They say that only, I don't know, 12, I forget how many, 12, 13 got out. They had a whole nother bunch supposed to get out. But all these people they're letting out on the other side, they're terrorists. Even though we're in the story of there's a woman there trying to kill someone, trying to stab a policeman, border policeman. All right, they didn't kill them, tried to injure them. Like, you can't compare. You cannot compare. This is the whole thing. This is just, it's beyond. But they're doing what they can to get the hostages out. Some of you guys know. All right, then people are questioning things. Okay, yeah, maybe we're lying. Maybe all these things never happened. Maybe these pictures just of actors. You ever see, any of these videos of, like, what the Arabs claim, like they bombed something and to get all these people killed? All these things are like planted. They got great actors. They got great actors, fake blood, and this and that. I mean, it's crazy. It's you can't make this stuff up, right? So yeah, children were released. Some of the parents, some women were released also. As far as I know, but there are others that weren't. They didn't release everybody. They didn't release all the children. All right, some they released with with their mothers or whatever. Let the I think one whole family was there, and they left the father there. I don't know exactly. Whatever, I'm not sure. It's just the whole thing is one big misinformation. That's what it is. That's what it is. So you got a lot of groups out there trying to get out the right information. But if you want to analyze, why are people not taking this? Why are they not taking this? Why are people, oh, that's the answer. It's really because of this and really because of that. And yeah, maybe I shouldn't really hate the Jews so much. But they don't even know. The information's going on deaf ears. They're trying to get out to the media. So the BBC retracted on something, Sky News retracted on something. Okay. Damage is done. Some of these questions, again, it's just good fodder for me. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. How are you comparing? First of all, how are you comparing, minors and minors? that almost have blood on their hands. How are you comparing them? It's illogical. It's totally illogical. Yeah, they're the greatest liars in the world. That's what they are. So they perpetuate this lie. Everyone's sucking it up. Why are they all sucking it up? No one does the research. Nobody cares. Jews are fair game. Jews are fair game. And you have to see no other nation in recent history that's committed 10 times worse atrocities are held accountable the way we are. Not even close. Assad, Yimach Shemoy V'Zichro, his name be blood on me, rot wherever he is. Gassed his own people. 600,000 people. That's not genocide? Men, women, he didn't care. Right? Mostly civilians. Not all civilians. There's so many cases of recent history. Anyone, the protest, where? I see anyone protesting against it. I see anyone protest against all these other groups did these things. Nobody. And this isn't self-defense. Right? So I would say like this. Anyone, people are not jumping up to join the Jewish people. Certainly what's going on right now. People want to convert. They're interested in converting well before. Right? All this stuff doesn't matter. It's going to get a person thinking how they're going to dress and this and that, maybe. Right? But at the end of the day, they're in this process anyway. Right? But the fact that you see what's going on, right? And there's no question. I don't care about the blacks, I don't care about the Asians. There's no question at all. Who's the most picked on minority in the history of the world? No question. Right? I'm not going to say blacks aren't picked on. I'm not going to say Asians are not picked on. They're definitely picked on. Yeah. Nothing compared to the Jews, even them combined. Even then combined, there's nothing to talk about. Throughout history, nothing to talk about. Not even close. Not even close. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right by any stretch. You want to compare what's going on? Imagine what would happen. Let's just play this out. Imagine, people in this, we'll make it easy. We'll use the U.S. as an example. Imagine there are mass protests all over against blacks. Because of all things blacks have done over the years, let's say. Yeah? There are mass protests against blacks. Asians won't use Asians. We'll use blacks. There would be, civil unrest. There'd be riots all over the place. All over the place. Death of blacks. Who's going to stand? You imagine? I'm not even talking about white supremacists. I'm talking about like your next door neighbor and all these people. Someone told me Friday night. They came in, the son had a baby, had a baby boy. His father was here. And so whatever, came in from England. So I said, yeah, what do you think's going on in England? Whatever, all these protests and hundreds of thousands of people. It's like, well, I said, you don't even know who could stab you. You're on the train. I said, yeah, at least here we know who the enemy is. Here it's clear who the enemy is. In the States, you have no idea. You have no idea. People next door neighbor, you have no idea. No idea whatsoever. Yeah. But if that would be against the blacks, what do you think would happen? What do you think would happen in this thing? Cities would be burnt to the ground. That's what would happen. Cities would be burnt to the ground. There'd be civil unrest like no tomorrow. Where's the outcry? Where's the outcry? So we deserved ourselves. This is what anti-Semitism is. This is exactly what it is. Not rational. Doesn't have to be rational. Right? The fact is, Esav hates Yaakov, and that's going to be till the end of days. And it's going to stick till the end of days, till the Messiah comes. Sometimes it'll be better, sometimes it'll be worse. But it's ironic. It's ironic that you have people saying all these things, that death to the Jews, that's not even a criminal offense. It's not even a criminal offense. In England, it's now a criminal offense. People will go to jail. People will go to jail. That's a criminal offense. In the States, it's not a criminal offense. Quote unquote, most free country in the world, not a criminal offense. You denounce blacks and say things that's different. Jews are like subhuman. That's exactly what happened in the Holocaust. Subhuman. Not rational. This is beyond anger. This is beyond anger. This is like a whole sheet. That's the whole idea. A whole idea, because we've done this, we've done that, we've done the other thing. Right? But this is just an excuse to have all this Jew hatred because of what's going on here. Right? What's going on in Israel. But, A, it's totally not rational. B, it's all this propaganda, right? Right? Someone here mentioned. Right? This is anger gone crazy. Crazy is just excuses to loot and do other things. Right? This is how far anger can go. But, this thing was just unleashed. Seemingly out of nowhere. I mean, listen, before COVID, anti-Semitism was on the rise, right? There's no question. Anti-Semitism on the rise. And COVID sort of stopped it a little bit because people couldn't go anywhere. People couldn't do things. And then even after COVID, things went quote unquote back to normal. Yeah, so anti-Semitism on the rise. Was on the rise even afterwards, no question. Nothing like this. Nothing like this. But they, it went gradually. They just need an excuse. So what's behind it is exactly what we're saying here. What's behind it, you can say it's jealousy. You can say, well, whatever they claim. But whenever you hear people speak, there are a lot of F-bombs, right? People are cursing. But it's a lot of anger. Tremendous amount of anger. And I'm not saying it's from Muslims. Muslims I can understand, right? So you got all the Muslims or whatever, not all of them, but a lot of them, going to be anti-Israel. They're going to be, they're going to be anti-Jewish, right? Right? That I understand. That to me is clear. That to me is clear. Everybody else, this is Asa, right? Europe, America, South America, this is Asa. So much hatred. You want to disagree with policy, whatever, right? But yeah, and who's bringing all this up? Where's it all stemming from? The media, the leftist media. They're the ones stirring everything up. Is it a coincidence? Qatar and these other Arab places, spend billions in American universities. Not a coincidence. Not a coincidence. How can, under the First Amendment, how can you say you can have clubs on campus that are racist? From freedom of speech. There are limits. You wanted to have, imagine you have a group on campus. Again, we use blacks as an example, right? No offense to anyone who's black out there. If they would have these groups, these clubs or whatever, they're totally anti-black. They say, no blacks can come in, and they make all these black epithets and different things. Never stand for it. I don't care about First Right Amendment. They would shut these places down. There'd be protests all over the place. Cities be burning. How can they pass these things? How can they allow it? It's insane. It's insane. This is hatred gone crazy. So you might say it's different. This is hatred by a whole agenda, right? To be anti-Israel, to be anti-Zionist, right? You're an anti-Zionist, and Zionism is racism, right? Finally got that erased from the UN. But you got to see what's behind it over here. So you say this is different. It might not be the same, right? Because of the whole political agenda, all this propaganda. So that hatred has gone berserk. Okay, right? Very well, maybe. Very well, maybe. The question is, though, even Jews, even secular Jews against religious Jews, they also have a tremendous amount of hatred. We're telling them what to do. We're putting them down. We don't think they're Jewish. Which is not true at all. None of these things. But they have a perception. They have a perception. So it's not like, oh, let's get together. Let's have a dialogue. Let's speak it out. They're angry. What are they angry about? they also have an agenda. They want to be legitimate. They have an agenda. And we're saying they're not legitimate. Right? Now, we're not saying they're not Jewish. If they have a Jewish mother, they're Jewish. If they don't have a Jewish mother, okay, it's a different issue. Right? It's a totally different issue. Right? So, so at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, at the end of the day, it's a crazy thing. Because what they're saying isn't true. This is not true. Right? But they also have an agenda. So when you have an agenda based with anger, it's very hard to fight. Very, very hard to fight against, even if you have all the greatest information. Someone points out, university can have black clubs, they can have white people in there. Yeah, I get it. Okay, that doesn't bother me as much. Yeah, but if you would have people protesting and saying that, saying that they're racist, and equate them with being racist, and all of them are racist, they're being upheaval. They're being a huge upheaval. No question. There's no question. But what makes it worse is that you have an agenda. You have an agenda. Secular people do not want to be told what to do religiously, especially here in Israel. Right? They don't want to be told. Live and let live. Let me go to the beach on Shabbos. Let me do this. Let me do that. It's not a theocracy. But it's never going to be a theocracy here until the Messiah comes. Meaning that's going to be run by Jewish law. It's not even close. Not even close right now. But I'm saying if there's an agenda, the hatred underneath it, okay, it's a different thing. Right? Not exactly the same thing. But, the hatred's worse. Because, when your mind is messed up and you have all these other things going on. Yeah, someone there mentions, I want to get to this, someone asks, Pakistani, asks me, but Judaism says we must love people. Said, yeah, but I'm subhumans. So you're right. Because you could have quoted King David. King David says, Book of Psalms, you go back to this person and say, listen, King David says, I love those that love you. I'll fight against those that hate you. Right? Now, does that mean, now you raise a good question. You take people that are barbarians. People make the mistake, and Victor Miller spoke about this week. I mean, they took from mistakes from this week, in the Parsha, and he spoke about the fact about, does that mean, and he was talking about Reform and conservative Jews, right? That, how are we supposed to react to them? People think that they're not, you have to love everybody. So he says, yeah. He says, the problem is that we're not saying they're not Jewish unless their mother's not Jewish. Do I have to love what they do? I don't have to love what they do. So I don't have to love what they do. Right? I have to love every Jew because, I love God. God loves all Jews. Right? Meaning Jews that keep his Torah. People that don't keep his Torah. Depends what they do. He wants them to repent. Okay. Right? But the question is over here is if they're going against what God says. Don't we say, I mentioned this last week in my Q&A, right? We had a few Q&As on this. The fact that, okay, we're not, even though when we say the Shmoneh Esrei, silent meditation, whatever you want to call it, we say God should take care of our enemies. Very good. Right? So we pray that God should take care of our enemies. Okay. Yeah, so then there's the question, but at the same time, when the angels wanted to sing praise to God, when the Egyptians were drowning, God says, no, I can't do that. My creation is drowning. How can you sing praise to me? Right. So that was a different thing. Right. That was a different thing. Okay. That we discussed. That we discussed in a few Q&As. Now the question over here is a person that commits these type of crimes. So King Solomon says in Ecclesiastes, time to love, time to hate. So we want God to take care of business, take care of our enemies. Very good. Can I get excited and sing and dance when our enemies are killed? That's a different issue. Right? I'm not going to get into it. I spoke about that. You watch that video on my YouTube channel, Beyond Orthodox Version Judaism. My last two Q&A spoke about it. Right? I spoke about it in different ways. But the point is, someone who's like that or subhuman, I mean, these people are barbarians. There's no question about it. Yeah. So I can certainly hate our enemies. I don't have to love them. Well, I have to love them. Right? The Miller made the point. You can't let, you're not going to love people that go against God and spit in his face. We're not playing the guitar singing Kumbaya. These people who, desecrate Shabbos in public, and do worse things or whatever. Right? Yes, it's a time to love, time to hate. But an enemy of the Jewish people, I have to love them? Like, are you insane? Yeah, Torah says you love someone like yourself. Yeah, that's when they're not when they're barbarians. When they're barbarians, I have to love them more than myself, or as much as myself. That's ludicrous. Well, then if I was a Christian, turn the other cheek, gotta love everyone. Okay, that's a Christian idea. That's a Christian idea. Love everybody. Great. Right? They don't believe that either. Practically speaking. I have to love everybody. Who says I have to love everyone? King David himself, prophecy. King David himself says in Psalms, I love those that love you. I fight against those that hate you. What does that tell you? If they hate God or they go against God, I fight against them. Now, somebody who's a cockroach, someone who's a maggot, as I'm going to call them, these barbarians, these cowards, I have to love them? No, he didn't say the wrong thing, right? You can quote King David. Quote King David himself, right? They'll believe King David the prophet, right? They hold by King David. So that's what King David says. That's what you go back and tell them. I love those that love you. I fight against those that hate you. Yeah, I have to love barbarians. God's not going to put a person in that type of situation. It doesn't make sense logically. Logically, it doesn't make sense. We're not turning the other cheek. That's a Christian idea. Somebody who mutilates, little kids, burns their bodies, do all these other things. Love them? Love them? That's divine wrath at its, I'm not going to say at its best. That's total divine wrath for whatever reason. For whatever reason. We have no idea. But this is like such an act of cruelty. Cruelty. People are subhuman. You're right. They are subhuman. I have to love someone who's subhuman? Not at all. Not at all. We want these people to repent. We don't want to pray they should die, right? That we spoke about. They should repent. If they don't repent, God will take care of business. God will wipe them out. God will save us from their hands. But I have to love them? To go up and hug them after they've done such a thing? You gotta be crazy. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't say, it says, you love your neighbor as yourself. Loving your neighbor as as yourself doesn't mean if he's a serial killer. It doesn't, I have to love Charles Manson. I have to love these, these madmen and whatever. And we come in contact with him. I give him a big hug and say how much I love him. My mind's open till my brains fall on the floor. That doesn't make any sense at all, right? Even if the Torah would say, Torah's gonna say I have to love your enemies. Where's the Torah say? I gotta love my enemies. It doesn't make sense, right? It does not make sense. Someone mentions one of Israel's kings drag his wicked father. That's a different issue. That's a totally different issue. Why did he drag his father? Because that was an atonement for him. That's why he dragged, not because he hated him. It wasn't a question of hate. It wasn't a question of hate. It was a question of atonement. That's a different issue. He dragged his body through the streets because that was atonement for him. Atonement for him. Right? So, celebrate our enemy. Okay, so go back and listen to my Q&As last week. I'm not going to rehash it. I spoke about it. There's a source that says, a number of sources that says, even when God's creation is being punished, the angels cannot sing praise. Now, let me ask you. Someone just said, Yeah, there's a mitzvah to celebrate. Yeah, show me the source. There is a source, but there's a contradictory source that God himself says, as the Gemara records. There's a number of places where God says, my creation is drowning, i.e. the Egyptians. You want to sing praise to me. How is that possible? How is that possible? Let me ask the question again. It's not possible. Not possible. Because God can have the same feeling at the same time. They deserve punishment and deserve to die. Yes. 100%. They deserve to die. Okay. But even if they deserve to die, he says to the angels, you cannot sing praise to me. What does that sound like? It's forbidden. Forbidden. Right? Now, the question is, whether they should celebrate when your enemy is destroyed. There are two opinions, right? So that opinion has to be understood. There are two contradictory opinions, right? That's the point. So God at the same time could be happy and sad. God says, okay, God says these people had to be destroyed, right? They had to be destroyed. So if they had to be destroyed. God does not allow the angels to sing. Doesn't allow them to sing. Now there was a question also, right? I'm just going to throw this out there. There was a question that there's a difference between a Jew and a non-Jew, right? Let's say a Jew is intermarried. The non-Jewish spouse dies. What does the Torah say? Sorry, what does the Rambam say? Maimonides over there says, celebrate. It's a big celebration. What's the big celebration? What's the difference? What are you saying? We're happy non-Jews die? No. The point is, this person now is no longer married to this non-Jew. So therefore, they're not transgressing. So for that, you can celebrate. That you can celebrate. Yeah. We pray every day. Go back to the blessing. Does the blessing that we pray every day, except on Shabbos or festivals, that says God should do away with our enemies, does that blessing say anywhere I should celebrate when he does it? Doesn't say it. Does not say I should celebrate. Right? Not at all. Right? Not at all. Right? The difference is, someone says, but then God chastised the children of Israel when they praised Hashem. Yes, that's what we're saying. God did that. The Gemara says he chastised the angels. The angels wanted to sing praise. The Jewish people sang praise. Praise, say it every day. Song of the Sea. Right? Read the Song of the Sea. We say it every day on Shabbos and festivals and every day. Right? That's thanking God for what happens. That they got saved. Now, you tell me, well, indirectly that means you're thanking God that he drowned them and he took care of business. Yes. Right? But if you look at what it says, it's all about God's greatness, God's glory, God's power, God's might. That's not the same thing as saying these poor Egyptians deserve to die. That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. You could have asked on that. What about the Song of the Sea? So if you read the Song of the Sea, you'll see it's praise of God's greatness. It does talk about the downfall of the Egyptians. The fact they got spit up on dry water. Dry lands. Dry water, that'd be good. Dry lands, they got buried. Okay, then opportunity to get buried. Very good. So that praise, what's that praise going on? Now, if you're going to tell me it's going on the fact that God, that we're able to be happy when God takes care of our enemies. Again, if you look at the majority of what's said at the Song of the Sea, the majority of what's said over there is all about praising God's greatness. Let me see. Right. Right. Let me just see it here 1 second. Song of the Sea, chapter 15. Book of Exodus, chapter 15. Right? I was just saying, verse 1, I was just thinking to Hashem. He's talking about the arrogance, the might and vengeance of God, salvation for me. Hashem is the master of war. Pharaoh's chariots and army threw in the sea. Deep waters covered them. Your right hand, Hashem, is glorified with strength, your abundant grandeur to carry your opponents, send forth your wrath. Right? Blast from your nostrils, the waters were heaped upon. You think, oh, there's a whole thing, but what is it? Who's like you among the heavenly powers? Who's like you, mighty in holiness, do awesome in praise, doer of wonders, verse 11. Right? Stretched out your right hand, or swallow them up. And everybody heard. Everybody heard it. Terror befall them, blah, blah, blah. It's not just, don't make the mistake and say, oh, see, it's all about the enemy. All about the enemies got destroyed. It's talking about God's power. Don't make that mistake. It's talking about God's power and what he did. It's not talking about they jumping up and down, whistling Dixie and saying how great it is the enemy fell. That's not the same thing, right? That's not the same thing. God did judgment. They're praising him for his power and his might, for taking care of the Egyptians and saving them. That's not jumping around singing and dancing, and rejoicing. What if that would be the case? If that would be the case, then the Torah would say something totally different. The Torah would say, it took care of. The Torah is saying, it took care of our enemy, but that's not the main point. The few things that I just read are all, that's the majority of the chapter there. The majority of things that are said over there are praising God for what he did, showing God's might, God's power, God's outstretched arm. And the Egyptians, drowned and he covered them up and all these things, all the things that God did. That doesn't sound like I'm doing the moonwalk, singing and rejoicing that, and I'm so happy my enemies got killed. No, it's praising God's power. You're right. It does talk about God taking care of them. Okay. But if you read the majority of the verses, that's not the case. That's not the case. Right? So now someone asks, okay, you're forbidden to celebrate, but is it okay not to feel any pity for them? Who says I have to feel pity? It's judgment. God is taking care of them. It's total judgment. Right? I don't have to feel pity for them. Right? We don't have to have compassion. Right? Someone points out very good. You don't have to feel compassion. Right? Now, isn't it sad? Wouldn't you say it's sad? All the people were displaced. Okay, it's sad. Right? It's sad, but guess what? They're living under this rule. They're being pawns. But guess what? When they captured all these people and they had all these dead bodies, they brought into Gaza. What did the quote unquote commoners do? Was it, oh, this is disgusting, what a terrible thing? They were sitting there whacking these dead bodies. They were sitting, singing, dancing, this, that, singing the praises. Yeah, these are the innocent people, quote unquote. They're all indoctrinated. Right? You're right. They're all indoctrinated. They're all indoctrinated over. That's judgment. That's total judgment. So at the end of the day, that's sad. That I would agree is sad. Do I have to have pity for what's going on for them? No, not at all. So are we supposed to have pain over them? That's fine. No, I'm not supposed to have pain. God has pain. That's what we said. Don't misinterpret what I said. God said he did not want the angels to sing. God felt the pain at the same time as punishing them. Did they deserve to be punished? Yes. Everyone agrees they deserve to be punished. The angels want to sing God's praises. He says, no. God felt the pain. We're not God, are we? I don't have to feel the pain. I have to feel pity. What do I have to feel pity? God took care of business. God judged them. Right? The only thing I'm saying is, you got these people indoctrinated. You got tens of thousands of people are displaced. People could say that's a terrible thing. That's what people are claiming. People are claiming to get all these people and they're fleeing. It's not fair. And look what Israel's doing. these people are not innocent. Don't make that mistake. They're not innocent by any stretch. Is it sad? You got a whole population being displaced? Yeah, that's sad. It's sad. And it's entirely sad they're being brainwashed. It's also sad. Right? It's also sad. Are they innocent? No, they're not innocent. Don't let the press fool you. They're not innocent. These are the same people who were beating down these bodies and spitting on them and kicking them and everything else. Basically, when they're dead, these are the same people that are fleeing. So you have some of them that hate what's going on and whatever. The vast majority, they're indoctrinated, totally indoctrinated. So I don't have to feel the pain for them. I think it's sad. You have a whole population like that or whatever. I think it's sad. Am I sitting here losing sleep at all? No, not losing sleep at all. Not at all. Those there's a difference. There's a difference, there's a difference over here of singing and dancing when these people get killed. That's the difference. We're not saying you can't hate them. You can't hate what they did. For sure you can. Right? That's not an issue. The issue is when our enemies are taken care of, can I sing and dance? That's the issue. That's a different issue. That's not the same issue. Despising what they did, yes. Despising who they are, yes. Singing and dancing, a different issue. You see, the Gemara says God himself would not allow the angels to sing praise. And the proof also is even by the Jewish people coming out of Egypt, going through the Red Sea. What was their praise? Their praise is they thank God for saving them. Their praise was God's greatness and the power and all that, and that the Egyptians, were taken care of. That's the praise. But the majority of the verses, again, go back and read it. I read it very quickly. Go back and read it. All that's about God's greatness and God's glory. That's what it is. It's not about the Jewish people doing the jitterbug and saying, and they're totally rejoicing that their enemy's downfall. It's not the same thing. That's not what's being said. That's not what the Torah says. That's a different thing, right? That's a different thing. But at the end of the day, when you see God's judgment and God's taking care of business, if we understand it, even though a lot of things we see we don't understand. But when we see that's a whole different thing, right? That's a whole different thing, right? But again, praising and this and that, it's a different issue. It's a lot of divine providence here, a lot of miracles going on also. Soldiers are being saved and different things. Mentioned some of these stories, right? It's uncanny, it's very uncanny. But again, this is through the army, and through people praying and watching over them, God watching over them. They've killed thousands of terrorists. Thousands of tunnels been blown up or put, I don't know, seawater in or whatever. Right? So yeah, there are a lot of good things going on. Right? But they have to eradicate. They don't have a ceasefire. This will happen again and again. They won't limit it to Israel, it'll be all over the world. So yeah. They're not gonna let all the hostages go. They'd be stupid to. Right? Not they should take any ideas from me. Right? Because they know if they get rid of all the hostages, they got no leverage. They're gonna blow them up. They'll totally blow them up. They'll go in there and just flatten them. Right? They've been doing it. So whatever, it's gonna be a long drawn out thing. But at the end of the day, yeah, this kind of a catch-22. We want, we obviously, we want God to take care of business and judge them and take care of them and, watch over us and all that. Yeah. The question is though, am I allowed to sing and dance at the downfall? That's the question, right? That is the question. And, and that we have clear sources, not that way. Clear sources say no, not allowed to, right? If you see, again, by Exodus chapter 15, read the verses. Majority versus obviously singing God's praises, right? Totally singing God's praises, right? And showing his power and showing his might. Mentions also about their downfall, true. But the majority of verses, you can't take one or two verses out of like 30 or 25, whatever it is, and they say they can be thankful. They can be thankful what's going on over here. Do me a favor, that's not true. You get two verses out of 25. Come on, that's not a high percentage. Right? That's not a high percentage. Right? Totally not a high percentage over here. That's it's like not even 10%. Right? Not even 10%. So first says, yeah, but it says it. Okay, but the majority are all about God's power. Right? If I wouldn't have this Gemara that would tell me that this is what God himself said. Now again, let's make clear, God can be happy and sad at the same time, which a human cannot. God can be happy in the sense that he did judgment, he took care of the Egyptians, he saved the Jewish people. God at the same time can say, my creation is drowning. It's sad that he had to do that. Would any one of us, if we were there, would any one of us have thought that? Never. Never, not in a million years. God's taking care of business. Why not? We should be happy. God's saving us. We cannot look at creation the way God does. God, does God want to see all this violence? No. Does he want to see all this anti-Israel, anti-Semitism? No. But there's one thing that it's done, which is unbelievable, right? And that is, it's brought the entire Jewish nation together. That's what it's done. That's what anti-Semitism does in general. Even though we squabble and we yell at each other and this and that, that's what it does. It brings everyone together. Secular Jews, other Orthodox Jews, non-Orthodox Jews, brings everyone together. Because you got to remember that this whole year, when Netanyahu came to power, this whole year when they wanted to do this reform, this judicial reform, there have been protests left and right, day in and day out, up until the war started. Sinas Chinam, unlawful hatred, Lashon Hara. I mean, really nasty, split the Jewish people down the middle, right? Really split the Jewish people down the middle. So I heard someone say, so my claim was, let's say the war's done, everything's good, etc. So I said I give it a week or 2 weeks before they start protesting again against the government. I heard someone say it's not going to take 1 day. I gave it a week, 2 weeks. I heard someone say 1 day. Right? They're probably right. People are going to forget, go back to the same hatred or whatever. That means we didn't get the message. The whole point of anti-Semitism in general is to make us to remember that we're Jews, we have to repent. And it's used against us to wake us up. There are a lot of people, I think, finally getting the message. Secular Jews finally getting the message. They're not welcome where they are. Shock. There's some people they don't know what to do, which to understand. They don't have Torah mitzvahs. They don't see the bigger picture. But they're how could this happen in America? How could this happen? I understand. You got the leftists, you got the Republicans, you got this, everywhere in between. I get it, but they're happy being there. They're progressive. A lot of secular Jews are leftists, big time leftists. So of course they hate the Republicans, they hate their agenda and all that. Okay, whatever. This is very uncertain. This is very bad for them. Secular Jews are going nuts. How could this happen in this country? Isn't that what the German Jews thought? German Jews thought the same thing. How could it happen here? We fought new wars, we married new women, we did all these things. Right? We can't understand. And what's the answer? What is the answer? And the answer is God will use us to wake people up. Sometimes it'll be more, sometimes it'll be less. It doesn't matter. But this is a serious wake-up call. Serious wake-up call. For secular Jews. And of course, they're still sucking up everything that the leftists and the media are saying. right? So but they're worried. They're worried, at least, some of them have some connection to Israel. They don't want to see Israel disappear, some of them. So like it hits home, it seriously hits home. They're like, my neighbors could kill me because I'm a Jew. That's a serious thing. That is not a small thing, not at all. Not a small thing. Read an article earlier that even some of these leftist groups, they're talking about embracing Torah mitzvahs. I mean, mind-boggling thing. People have no connection. But what do they see? What do they see? They see that it's about being a Jew. So what does it mean to be a Jew? So now they're rethinking, who am I? I'm trying to be this progressive Jew and everyone hates me. Everyone wants to see me in the ground. 2 bullets in my head, or at least. So for them, it's a huge wake-up call. Yeah. So, it could be things where we're getting better in some ways. And the anti-Semitism and other things. But, there's no atheists in the foxhole. So now you got people, again, I'm not going to say it's the majority, but you got people seriously rethinking things. And, there are people that are going to come to Torah mitzvah. I don't think there's any question. You cannot be unfazed by this. That this is something that hits to the heart of who you are. You can be as leftist as you want. You see what's going on. Like I said, people go out of their minds. Totally go out of their minds. So, in a certain way, that's good. Because it makes them think, makes them realize, like, who am I? What do I represent? What do I want my legacy to be? Are the vast majority of these people going to come to Israel? No. I've seen a lot of people say, yeah, we're not going anywhere, proud to be Jewish. That's what this March on Washington did. Showed 300,000 Jews proud to be Jews, not going to be afraid, not going to back down. Okay. Right? A lot of secular Jews there. Majority, I don't think we're Orthodox Jews. Majority were secular Jews. So that's good. They have pride. They get a lot of Jewish pride. Okay, it's Jewish pride without Torah. Okay. Right? But again, a lot of them, I guarantee, there's a crisis. There's a spiritual crisis here. Why do I say spiritual crisis? A spiritual crisis because if they're like everybody else, and they go to the universities, imagine, secular Jew on campus now, afraid for their lives. They go to Hillel every once in a while, a little bit of Jewishness, whatever. And and then you get like, all these people like barricading the door. You can't get in or you can't get out. They have to extract them. If you're a secular Jew, think about it. You're asking the question, what do they hate against us? This is Israel. What does that have to do with us? And Israel has the right to defend themselves. Look what happened. Still, no one denies them. I mean, except you're a Muslim, right? But you're definitely, pro Hamas. But everyone else out there says we have a right to defend. Okay, say within reason. Don't kill so many kids and blah blah blah. Okay, but think if you're a secular Jew, you go to campus. You might not be keeping kosher. You don't necessarily look so Jewish. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You're with everybody else. You're sitting duck. Now, if they don't keep Torah mitzvahs at all, or very little, this is very troubling. This is very troubling. See, for us, it's not so troubling in many ways. We understand. We have a Torah background. All right, it's not good. Everyone agrees it's not good. But we understand God's using them to get to us as a stick. Right? It's a very serious thing. It could bring the coming of the Messiah. It could get a lot worse. It's okay. There's a bigger picture. They don't see a bigger picture. They say, I want to, they see, I want to go to class and I don't want to be threatened. I don't want to be bullied. I don't want any of these things. I just want to be a Jew. Leave me alone. Right? So they're going out of their minds because they don't see the bigger picture. They don't understand. And it makes sense they don't understand. Makes perfect sense. So it's the same thing, the exact same thing what the Jews in Germany went. Jews everywhere else went through. Why are you picking on us? We're part of your society. We fought in your wars. We did this. They don't care. Hitler Yamach Shemo V'Zichro didn't care. He didn't care. He had Jewish blood. That's it. He deserves to die. That was very clear by him. Very clear by him. A quarter Jewish, half Jewish, wrong side, right side of the family. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And Jews saw exactly what they see today. Right? They saw, their neighbors that grew up for years and years. Some of them that survived came back. They're like, their neighbors would have killed them. Their neighbors would have killed them, took over their houses, this and that. They didn't care. They did not care. Caught up in the whole thing. Believed exactly that. So what's the difference today? For a secular Jew, it's much scarier. Because they never experienced it. Not to this extent. See that their neighbors and this and that. You can't trust anybody. It's a scary proposition. But listen, it's a scary proposition even if you have Torah mitzvahs. Still a scary proposition. What's the difference? The difference is we understand. We understand where it comes from. We understand what its purpose is. We don't want to go through it. But God's using them to get to us. It's a major wake-up call. But if you don't have that, if you're not a vessel to understand that, you're going out of your mind. You are seriously going out of your mind right now. Because you're going to say, I thought I was safe. It's a free country. Yeah. And what do they see? They see, all these people turning on them. So you say, come on, this is the culmination. It's not the culmination. Everything was alive and well. And it's been up ever since COVID and before. Right? It's been on the up. This is much higher. Much, much higher. Okay. So when the other things happen, people weren't so worried. They say, okay, they'll make statements this, make statements that. Like, yeah. Normal thing. Not out of hand. It's fine. Probably not affected by it very much. Okay. They see massive protests in their own place. All around. Forget about other parts of the world. Other parts of the world, another issue. Could be they care less about other parts of the world. They're worried where they are right now. And they have a right to be worried. I don't think there's any question about it. They absolutely have a right to be worried. But if you're a secular Jew without Torah and mitzvahs, how could they do this? Higher institutions of learning? I guarantee, boggles their minds. Ivy League schools? Hatred? Barricaded into a building, you can't get out without a police escort? This is 2023. No one dreamed such a thing in America? Never. If you'd have asked us 10 years ago, 20 years ago, more, you would have expected such a thing? Never. No one would have said such a thing. So they say, there's not an atheist in a foxhole. So Jews have to band together. They have no choice. And it could be if they had it, if they had a choice, okay, so they're fighting against each other. So we have to get the message. But the whole point we got onto this is because if you see what's going on, and these people have an agenda. Of course they have an agenda, that's clear. I don't think there's anything to talk about. But underneath that, you can't really, take it totally out. But the fact is, it's not normal anger. It's not normal anger. This is anger with an agenda, with an attitude, with a serious attitude. It's not just, someone got upset, you did something, right? I should be silent, you don't speak to them, this and that. So we got onto this because if you have an agenda, that person has an agenda, you're toast. You are toast. There's nothing to talk about. You can't speak to them. They have an agenda. See, what most people are not aware, is the fact, okay, we believe God's in charge. We believe God runs the world, right? So what's he telling you? Again, I'm not a prophet. I'm not the son of a prophet, right? You can take what I say with a grain of salt. But, well, what's he telling you? He's telling you we're in serious trouble. That's what he's telling you. We got to shape up. That's what he's telling you. And we got to be better. And if we're not doing the right thing, right, the colloquium is, Jews don't make Kiddush Friday night or on Shabbos. The non-Jews make Havdalah, right? Havdalah is the service at the end of Shabbos. They'll make the distinction. Havdalah means to distinguish between the holy and the profane. So if we don't do what we're supposed to do, God's got a lot of messengers. A lot of messengers. This was a serious wake-up call. Serious wake-up call. We have a lot to work on. Everyone has a lot to work on. Yeah. This is God's wrath. This was already, God already made this decision by Rosh Hashanah. This festival, this music festival didn't help. We're not going to say that's the reason, right? It could be 150,000 different reasons. That was just culmination, maybe. Yeah. Well, we don't know why, but it's God's wrath. See, what happened during the Holocaust was man's inhumanity to man. Absolute inhumanity to man. Jews were slaughtered like no tomorrow. The whole world sat around, did nothing. Right? We had no rights, couldn't say anything, couldn't do anything, etc. So there was a whole decree, for whatever reason, which we don't know, there was a whole decree on European Jewry. European Jewry got seriously slaughtered. No pun intended. Seriously slaughtered. 6 million people. Yeah. That's God's wrath like no tomorrow. The rabbis, didn't tell people to leave. They didn't think it was going to be that bad. Just weather the storm, so to speak. And then by the time they realized what was going on there, that was it. It was too late. God didn't give them the ability to see what was going to be. By the time they did, they were trapped. They were trapped. Heard someone say, yeah, they should have fought back, this and that. They didn't realize what was going on, and half-starved people. It was they didn't have their own army, they didn't have guns, they didn't have nothing. Till the end of the war, they started fighting back a little bit. Okay, but we're not going to go to sleep to like sheep to the slaughter. People say never again. Yeah, let's analyze it. Let's analyze. What does that show beyond the shadow of a doubt? It shows man's inhumanity to man. It's not a question. Yeah, God let it happen. Etc. So obviously, as a whole, the Jewish people there are not doing whatever God wanted, right? A lot of assimilation, a lot of intermarriage. I'm not going to say that's the reason. Possibly one reason, right? It could be a main reason, but who knows? Who knows what the decree is for? We don't know what the decree is for over here either. Man's inhumanity to man. Civil war that was going on here. Other things could be a million things. Bottom line, it's divine decree. Divine decree. But I'll tell you, it's a similar thing that would happen there. And that is nobody cares about Jewish blood. It's about man's inhumanity to man. It shows that universities, all these places do not make somebody moral. Same exact message. How can anybody say after such a massacre that they go in and they're committing genocide? Let's say in general, the army went in there, right? They got protection from above. They just massacred everyone. Whoever was there, just massacred, flattened buildings, flattened like a pancake, put up a McDonald's, called it easy. Let's say some other nations would have done this. I don't think there's any question. But let's say they would have done it. They're not justified. They're not. Why are they justified? Look what they did. Slaughtered, butchered, raped. I mean, horrific. They don't deserve that punishment, right? Any other nation, yeah. This is what happened to Mexico and Texas. What do you think America would have done? They would have flattened the place like an absolute pancake. Nothing to talk about. Men, women, children, doesn't matter. They'll flatten the entire place. Then they'll investigate afterwards. We don't have rights. What do you see? Jews don't have rights. That's what you see. You don't have rights. You're less than human. You don't have rights. You never, some will say, you're right, we got an ability to defend ourselves. With two hands tied behind your back. With all these civilians being used as human shields. You wouldn't say that by anybody else. Not by anybody else. And no one else has held to anything close to this standard. So what's the bottom line? God's pretty ticked off. No question, these people were sacrifices. Thank God some of them are going to be freed. But you had a lot of sacrifice. In a nasty, horrific way. You're going to say that's war. Yeah, you could go through the history and whatever. That's not the point. That's not the point. This is not different. Can't rely on men. We got to put our best foot forward. In America, you get different groups, making sure Jews are going to be protected and whatever, okay? That's what you got to do. Can't rely on men. And it's very ironic as well. There are a lot of people, a lot of ultra-Orthodox Jews, they're arming themselves, okay? And I don't hear people come in Israel. They think it's more dangerous here. Makes sense. Got rockets flying around, this and that. They're not coming here. If they got a good excuse not to come here, okay. Yeah, but it's the same message. It's the same exact message. Can't rely on man. So we understand that. We understand your back's against the wall. The mantra is Hashem Elokim. God is the one. Right? God is our master. Ain't old Milvada. There's no other one else but him. You can't rely on the UN for sure. You can't rely on the US for sure. You can't rely on anybody. That's what's going to happen in Visa the Mashiach when the Messiah comes. These birth pains of the coming of the Messiah. This is what we have to realize. There's no one else to rely on. God is the only one we can rely on. So at the end of the day, right, that's how we got into all this, because this agenda that they have, this agenda is bursting with anger. People are angry. We're creating mass genocide. The whole thing's a lie. The whole thing's a lie. Yeah. And as much information is getting out there, it's not helping. The lie is still being perpetuated. You still got to try and get the information out. But the lie is being perpetuated. But we have to get the message. And the message isn't, some people came out against, this march on Washington. Came out against it because it's not about man. It's not about trying to get the states to do this and do that and do the other thing. The message is God's the one in charge. I got to pray better. I got to learn better, right? I got to do all these things better, but he's the one in charge. That's the message. That's the message. So some people totally miss the message. Totally miss the message. But, at the end of the day, this is what we have to realize. He's the one in charge. We're not in charge. This is a horrific thing. No question. It's unbelievable divine wrath. In such a horrific way. Across the board. Lives turned upside down overnight. People lost their lives. So, someone who gets angry in general, you don't speak to them. You got to let it go. If there's anger with an agenda, it's not, I don't think there's very much to do. Because if there's an agenda, you got to unravel the agenda. Where someone's coming from. And that, I would say, is a much harder thing. You got to convince there are people out there, plenty of people say we don't deserve to exist. Not in Israel, not anywhere. As we said, people living in free countries, especially in the States, they're being told that they're less human, committing genocide. Listen, they may not agree with the right-wing government and this and that, but they don't think they're committing genocide. Maybe some do, maybe some leftists do. Whatever. God wants their eyes opened. He wants their eyes opened in a major way. In a major way. We're going to change world opinion? No. We're not going to change world opinion. But our obligation is to understand he's the one in control. And that's, during these times and before the Messiah comes, every day you should say it 100 times. You should say it 100 times. And that it should have an effect on a person. Hashem hu Elokim, right? God is the master. God's in charge. And ain't old Milvanda. There's no one else but him, no matter what. No matter what's going on, whether it's health, whether it's livelihood, whether what's doing with our kids, grandkids, whatever, it's all across the board. He is the one in charge. And he's showing he is the one in charge. And we have to get the message. That is the message. You're not relying on senators, not relying on presidents, not chancellors, not nobody. If they enact good legislation against these people, good. Yeah. And if they don't, we're not relying on them. We're only relying on Avinu Shabashamayim. We're only relying on our Father in heaven. That's what we're relying on. That's the message. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Israel Time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman or at Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism or orthodoxconversion.com or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, Ethics of Our Fathers, Book of Leviticus. What else do we have there? Controversial issues. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, whichever good. Middle of the day, end of the day, depending where we are, and everyone have a great